Peace and blessings and namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. Ruh-roh. Here we go again. This is not an easy topic to discuss. It is for edification purposes only. You can take it as you will. If it resonates with you, then go ahead and process the information. Do your own studies and your research on it. And if it does not, then as I always instruct everyone, just toss it. Okay, it's not one of those areas or topics that have to be debated. It's more or less rooted in the reality of the world of matter and some of the things that have taken place. And how you're going to process this information is totally up to you. But understand that I am here if you ever wanted to talk, okay? So the topic of this conversation is angelic androgyny in the world of matter. Okay? Now, what needs to be understood is this universe was created and balanced with certain laws. And one of these laws was the law of gender. Now, before we get into what the law of gender is, understand that it has nothing to do with just male and female. More so, it has everything to do with polarities, negative and positive charges. We see this with electrons, protons. You see the law of gender operating everywhere, okay? Now, that was constructed for the world of matter because, once again, we're trying to take things that are incorporeal and present it to the corporeal, okay, as manifestations of material of a concept. So when we incarnated here and it was split, then, of course, one represented the male aspect of it, another would represent the female aspect of it. What needs to be understood is there are beings who do not come from this universe nor identify with the law of gender because they weren't originally in matter, okay? And so these are free-flowing energies that are considered somewhat androgynous or androgynous altogether. They have reached a certain level of balance within themselves. So they will have both masculine and feminine principles. However, this doesn't always translate when it comes down to the world of matter because this earth realm deals with duality. So therefore, they're going to be separate. The issue is there are a lot of our brothers and sisters out there that are struggling with their sexuality because of this concept. Because some of the incarnations do not have these laws nor understand what gender is. When they manifested here, they found themselves kind of trying to fit into a norm that was not their own. And being as though these are energy beings, they're still somewhat attracted to energy. When this happens, you will find that, there will be more confusion here dealing with sexuality because a lot of these beings that are attracted to the energy don't know how to, or I'm not even going to say don't know. Some of them are just refusing. Some of them do know and do understand that there's a law of gender for the material world, but are opting or choosing to deal with the energy. The collective needs to make a decision on whether or not this will be allowable or not allowable. And here's why, okay? When it comes down to the material world, concepts don't translate as easy. The material world was a world that was designed to teach certain concepts to others who may not have the exact experience here. So here's where a lot of beginning souls travel to learn about relationships, to learn about families, to learn about community, to learn about economy, to learn all of these things. Okay, so it's somewhat still a baby planet compared to the more evolved planets. As we like to deal with the aspect of nature, okay? What you will realize is nature tells its own truth in its own story, and all one has to do to identify with a core truth is to identify with nature. Now, when we're talking about nature, we're not going to limit this to simply the trees and the grass and things of that nature, but we're also talking about a state of existence or something that is identified, a characteristic of something is considered its nature as well. And things that operate in its uniqueness according to its nature is considered natural, okay? The human bodies that incarnated and formed on this earth formed in a duality. That duality is natural, okay? And what we mean by natural is just look at the genetic makeup of the body. You understand what the woman wears, the breasts, the yoni, things of that nature, was specifically designed to complement the man, okay? This is the negative and positive charge. We experience this in the world of matter, in the duality, so that we have the ability to come together, male and female, and one bringing a certain aspect to the other, and vice versa, helps us achieve this type of equilibrium in ourselves so that the mind becomes androgynous, but the body remains in matter and in its gender form. When we say the mind becomes androgynous, we're talking about the ability to balance the left and the right brain that is achieved when two start to become one. The spiritual energy unites, okay? And he receives some of his femininity and she receives some of her masculinity, and they do this in perfected mode. Once the mind is perfected and the consciousness is perfected and equilibrium is achieved, you will find out that when it's time to elevate to another level of consciousness, hence leaving the material world, you yourself will become androgynous. The issue behind the androgyny here is that it causes spiritual confusion, because we, as a baby planet, have not evolved to that level. How do you know that you have not evolved into that level? Because the law of gender is still at play. When it's time for an evolutionary process to take place, it takes place on all levels. Okay, so this is just not the mind, it's just not the spirit, it's just not the soul, it also includes the body. You will know when it's time to elevate past the law of gender when you see it represented in nature as well, okay, which is a process. That process is not right now, but it doesn't mean that it can't come soon. When we start to see children being born as Isu, or a sexless birth, or hermaphrodites, or just missing genitalia at all, then you'll know that you have arrived at the time and season where the law of gender no longer applies. Everything is an as above, so below concept in the material world. So everything that is done, okay, in the ethereal realms and the incorporeal realms will reflect here on the the material realms. We're not at that point right now in our journeys, but it doesn't mean that the earth itself can't get there, okay? Our bodies are mirroring what our purpose is as the microcosm of the macrocosm. So we are still operating in this polarity here, uniting with our pairs, perfecting our soul, mind, spirit union. And then once we go through our ascensions, then we can go back to that. We're causing spiritual confusion here, which is somewhat of chaos for the simple fact that the material does not match the consciousness of the ethereal. And it might not be the time for that. just for you to know. Okay, now this is not sitting in judgment of those who are practicing bisexuality or homosexuality or non-binary, but you must understand this. There is something that is a natural occurrence, and there's something that is a pushed current. If you have to genetically modify, manipulate, or to alter your DNA, your body structure to fit what it is that you're trying to represent to the world, then it wasn't time for you to represent that. The body, in any state of evolution, from animals to humanity, go through a natural state where this will start to take place over time. When it is rushed, it is out of season, and it creates an imbalance. What we're here to do is to just bring forth this information because the collective has to understand this so that they can make righteous decisions. There are many beings who are operating in that androgyny that has brought that teaching here to the material world, and they are operating under it. It does not match what is natural here at this moment and this time. There are even some beings who are pushing this because they are disagreeable and they do not really want to see humanity thrive. Some of the best ways to do that is to prevent births from occurring. Do you understand? There is empathy for those who feel like they are born this way. And in a lot of cases, that is actually the truth. Because sometimes the energy does not match the material form. However, what people don't know is a lot of beings, before they incarnate here on this earth, are prepped of the laws concerning this particular universe. They agree to it. So if they are assigned or they come in their feminine energy in a masculine body, the contract was to learn what it's like to be feminine or masculine. Sorry, I got that backwards. Some of it might be karmic lessons that is necessary for when we go back home, we can understand or have a better understanding of how each gender works. Until the earth starts to produce humans that are sexless, then the law of gender still will apply here on the material matter because this is the learning earth. Does this mean that we have an issue with those who identify with something outside of their material body? Not at all. We're operating in love here. But you have to have this understanding for the collective that some things that may seem or appear to be moving in a certain direction might not be the case. If you understand law, if you understand consciousness, then you understand nature. And if you understand nature, then you understand natural. Do you understand? I'm simply saying this because so many of my brothers and sisters struggle with this, with their soul identity expression of gender is versus the material matter. This is a short season. Learn what it is that you came here to learn. Experience what it is that you came here to experience. So, if another one of your lifetimes you were a womanizer, and your masculine energy, and you incarnated here on this planet as a woman, in order for you to learn the lessons, you need to operate as one. And vice versa. There is no hells to throw you in or anything like that. None of us are here trying to judge how you feel because many of us, all of us, have androgynous souls. It's just some of us have decided to be agreeable to the process and others are challenging it. Always look to nature. Always look to source if you're trying to identify with the truth. The truth is, in this particular universe, there is a law of gender, even if it does not apply to other universes of highly advanced beings. We will get there one day, but it's not yet, babies. I am Sophie, and I love you all.